I stood in that courtroom in a white blouse and watched calmly as they led my husband away in handcuffs. His mother was screaming. His father had his face buried in his hands. His attorney was talking fast into his phone, and I was thinking about one thing, about the first time I saw his smile 7 years ago, and about whether that smile was real or not. My name is Sarah. I'm 34 years old. I'm an FBI agent, and 7 years of my life were an undercover operation. The target was my husband. The hardest part, I loved him. Daniel Reed was exactly the kind of man you want to hate, but can't. 38 years old, political consultant, one of those people who never run for office themselves, but they're the ones who decide who wins. He worked in the shadows, helped candidates, raised money, built strategies, and on the surface, he was perfect. Tall, dark hair, always perfectly styled, a wide smile that appeared at exactly the right moment. The kind of man who could walk into any room, and within 5 minutes, it seemed like he'd known everyone there for 20 years. He read to the kids at bedtime. He remembered my favorite flower, white peonies, and sometimes just brought them home for no reason. He laughed loudly and genuinely at stupid jokes. That's exactly what made everything else unbearable. He wasn't a monster all the time. He was a man I loved who turned out to be a monster. I entered his life as Sarah Holloway, a quiet woman who worked remotely as a clerk for $45,000 a year. He looked at me with quiet condescension when I talked about work. Sweet smile. He called it his little secret that such a successful man had married someone so ordinary. He didn't know I'd graduated from Georgetown Law, that I'd completed FBI training, that every night while he slept, I was sending encrypted reports to my handler in Washington. He thought he'd found a simple woman who got lucky. What actually happened? He was the unlucky one. The operation started 3 years before our wedding. The FBI had known about the scheme for a while. Political donors, dirty money, shell companies, but the evidence wasn't enough. They needed someone on the inside, someone Daniel would trust completely. That someone was me. I met him at a reception, bumped into his glass, laughed. He laughed back. The rest was a matter of time. A year later, a marriage proposal. I called my handler. He said, "Continue." I continued, but here's what wasn't in the instructions. I fell in love. For real. Somewhere around year 3, not with the operation, not with the cover story, with him, with the way he held my hand at the movies, with the way he whispered when the kids were already asleep, with his laugh when we made breakfast on Sunday mornings. I reported it to my handler, said I had a conflict of interest, asked for a replacement. They said, "You're irreplaceable, continue." And I continued. Every tender night and in the morning, I sent a report. Every time he looked at me with love, I knew I was betraying him, or he was betraying the country. Depends which side you're looking from. Then came the kids. First Lucas, he's 5 now, then Emma, 3 years old. I gave birth to children during an undercover operation, and every time I held them, I thought, they're not to blame for any of this. In year 6, I found what changed everything. Daniel asked me to sign some tax documents. Like always, I signed without reading, like I had hundreds of times, but this time something caught my eye. A company name I didn't recognize, an address that didn't exist. I made a copy, passed it to my handler. A week later, the answer came back. 3 LLCs registered in my name. $2.3 million had moved through them. My signatures on every document. He had used me as insurance. If everything collapsed, my name would be first in the case file. To him, I wasn't a wife. I was a tool. That's when I realized I'd had enough evidence to close the operation in year 6. I could have ended it earlier, but I didn't, because I didn't want to lose him. And now I hated myself for that. Her name was Nicole. I found out the way you always find out about these things. His phone on the table. The screen lit up. One message. I'm a professional. I shouldn't have looked, but I looked. Then I opened the gallery, found a photograph. Nicole, in our bedroom, on my side of the bed. I stood in the doorway of the kids' room, listening to Lucas and Emma breathe, holding the phone with that photograph. I didn't cry. I just stood there. He cheated on his wife. I was his wife. But I was also an agent who had spent 7 years building a case against him. How am I better? That's a question I still don't have an answer to. I called my handler that same night, said one thing. I'm ready to close the operation. He asked, when? I said, Thanksgiving. The whole family will be together. 23 people sat around that table. His parents, my mom, brothers and sisters with their kids. Distant relatives I saw once a year. Daniel sat at the head of the table, perfect, charming, telling a story about one of his clients, everyone laughing. Lucas climbed into my lap. Emma was reaching for the pie. I watched him and thought one thing, the last time. He stood up with his glass. A toast to family, to home, to being together. Everyone raised their glasses. Then I stood up. The room went quiet. I looked directly at Daniel and said calmly, almost softly, to love, which turned out to be the most successful operation of my life. He froze. He was the first and only person at that table who understood. At that moment, the doorbell rang. 6 FBI agents, arrest warrant, 23 counts, document fraud, money laundering, bribing public officials. His mother screamed. His father jumped to his feet. The kids started crying, and Daniel looked only at me as they led him out in handcuffs past the children, past the stunned relatives. He stopped next to me for just a second and said quietly, almost soundlessly, I loved you, for real. I didn't say anything back because I didn't know. Was that the truth or the last manipulation of a man who had manipulated people his entire life? The trial lasted 8 months, 23 counts, 50 witnesses, thousands of pages of documents. My name was cleared from all charges on the very first day. I became the key witness for the prosecution. Nicole testified against him in exchange for a reduced sentence. Daniel received 22 years. The day before his sentence began, he disappeared. The car was found in the parking lot at Dulles Airport. Phone off. Security cameras caught him leaving the courthouse, and then nothing. Just darkness. The FBI issued a federal warrant. I took the kids and went to my mom's. Lucas kept asking where Daddy was. I told him Daddy went on a work trip for a long time. Emma stopped eating for a week. Then it passed. Kids handle things better than we do. Always. A month after he disappeared, I received an anonymous message. One photograph. Daniel, alive. Warm climate, palm trees in the background, looking directly into the camera, tanned, calm. And in the background, a small red toy car. That one, the one Lucas lost 3 months ago and cried about for an entire week. He had been close this whole time. Under the photograph, one word, truth. Let's stop for a moment, because this story isn't just about an affair or an arrest. It's about how we all play roles in other people's lives, and sometimes we don't know where the role ends and the real thing begins. Daniel used the classic manipulator's tool. He was genuine just enough that you never doubted him. Warm moments, real laughter, white peonies for no reason. This isn't accidental, it's strategy. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement. When love and pain alternate unpredictably, attachment becomes stronger than addiction. Sarah fell into the trap she herself was building. She knew everything about him and fell in love anyway. Because closeness isn't a choice, it just happens. Even when you're a professional, even when you know it's dangerous. And the question that was never answered, I loved you for real. That's the most brutal kind of uncertainty. Because if it's true, then everything was real. And if it's a lie, then he was manipulating her until the very last second. Sarah will never know. And that is heavier than any sentence. I sit in the kitchen. Lucas and Emma are asleep. That photograph is still on my phone. I never deleted it. Sometimes I look at it, and I think about how 7 years is a very long time to pretend. On both sides. Where he is now, I don't know. The FBI doesn't know. Maybe he ran with money he'd hidden away. Maybe he faked his own death. Maybe someone helped him disappear. Or maybe He just wanted me to know he was alive and that Lucas's little red car is with him. Drop one word in the comments. Truth, if you think he really loved her, or lie, if you think it was manipulation all the way to the end. Next video, a man whose wife cheated on him while he was away on a business trip. He found out by accident. And what he did next. People are still talking about it, not because it was revenge, but because it was kindness. The coldest kindness I have ever heard of.